Hey, what's happening? This your boy Rikishi, your WWE Hall of Famer. Check this out. I want you to keep it locked on Smart Tank Revolution. Don't touch that dial. Why? The big man said I back that ass up on it.
After 7 months away, Bret Hart returned to face a rising force, Stone Cold Steve Austin. The match was a clinic in technical wrestling and psychological warfare. Austin was brash, relentless, and hungry. Bret was precise, patient, and battle-tested. In a 28-minute war, Bret reversed the $1 million dream into a pinning combination. It wasn't just a win, it was a reassertion of identity. The Hitman was back, and the landscape had changed. 1997 opened with chaos. The WWF was shifting. Austin was gaining traction as a rebellious anti-hero. Shawn Michaels was still the poster boy. The Undertaker loomed in the shadows. Bret found himself in a four-way collision course, each man representing a different vision of the company's future. Bret's frustration grew. He wasn't just fighting opponents, he was fighting for relevance. In Chattanooga, Tennessee, Bret entered the Final Four match against Austin, Vader, and The Undertaker. Originally designed to determine a WrestleMania challenger, the stakes changed when Shawn Michaels vacated the WWF title. Bret outlasted three monsters in a brutal elimination format. He eliminated Austin, then Vader, then The Undertaker. The Hitman was champion again, but the celebration lasted less than 24 hours. On Raw, Bret defended his newly won title against Psycho Sid. Austin interfered, Bret lost, and then he snapped. He shoved Vince McMahon. He cursed on live TV. "This is bullshit," Bret shouted. The hero was cracking, the company was changing, and Bret Hart was no longer its center. Chicago, WrestleMania 13, Bret Hart vs. Steve Austin in a submission match. Ken Shamrock as the referee. The match was violent, visceral, and unforgettable. Austin bled. Bret didn't let go. The crowd turned. Austin passed out in the sharpshooter, never tapped. Bret won, but walked out a villain. In one match, the roles reversed. Austin became the anti-establishment icon. Bret became the bitter veteran. It was the most effective double turn in wrestling history. Bret found allies in his brother Owen, brother-in-law British Bulldog, Jim Neidhart, and Brian Pillman. The Hart Foundation was reborn, not as heroes, but as anti-American patriots. In Canada and Europe, they were revered. In the US, they were reviled. Bret's promos became political, personal, and piercing. He wasn't just feuding with wrestlers, he was feuding with the nation. Calgary, Alberta. In Your House, Canadian Stampede. The Hart Foundation vs. Austin, Shamrock, Goldust, and the Legion of Doom. The crowd was electric. Austin got pinned. The Hart family filled the ring. It was a celebration of legacy, loyalty, and defiance. Bret stood tall in his hometown. It was his last great triumph. SummerSlam 1997. Bret vs. The Undertaker. Shawn Michaels as special referee. The stipulation? If Bret lost, he'd never wrestle in the US again. Michaels accidentally hit Taker with the chair. Bret capitalized. Bret won his 5th WWF championship, but the tension with Michaels was boiling. The locker room was divided. The fuse was lit. Bret feuded with the Patriot, mocked American values, and warned of conspiracies. He was championed but isolated. His promos were sharp, his tone bitter. The company was shifting toward edgier content. Bret was a man out of time, clinging to tradition in a world-chasing rebellion. Montreal Survivor Series. Bret vs. Shawn Michaels. Bret didn't tap, but Vince rang the bell. The sharpshooter, the betrayal. Bret spat on Vince, punched him backstage, and walked out of the WWF forever. The Montreal Screwjob wasn't just a match, it was a moment that shattered trust, rewrote wrestling history, and ended an era. 1997 was Bret Hart's masterpiece and his undoing. He was champion, rebel, patriot, and pariah. The Montreal Screwjob became the most infamous moment in wrestling history, but through it all, Bret remained what he always was: the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.